Hello everyone, it's Tiger72 here, and for today, so the Nintendo Direct presentation will be happening this week on September 12th, and not only is this our first presentation since March of this year, there's quite a couple important things to note here. This is going to be our first presentation that involves titles that will be releasing for both the Nintendo Switch 2 and the Nintendo Switch, but this is by far, if not our longest presentation by far, clocking in at around roughly 60 minutes of content, which is essentially the same thing as the Switch 2 Direct that happened in April, but since this is a general Nintendo Direct, this being 60 minutes is insane, as it's usually around 35 to 40 minutes, sometimes even 45 or 50, so to actually have this be 60 minutes basically means that there's going to be a lot of content that Nintendo is going to show off. The real question is what are they even going to reveal in this one? So in this video, I thought, why not do a prediction video? This is going to be my first prediction video I've done in such a long time. I haven't really done one since around like 2024, so I mean, maybe it's not that long, but my point being is that I will be doing a prediction video. Since I don't usually do these types anymore, since these presentations usually happen a day before when they announce it, but since this is happening 2 days beforehand, that means I get all the opportunity to talk about all the things I can talk about and predict in this video. So I hope you guys enjoy this. This is not gonna be a pretty short one to say the least, because I'm not gonna be predicting what's happening in 60 minutes because, you know, Nintendo and other companies can be pretty unpredictable at times. So I hope you guys enjoy this video regardless on what you might think will be happening in this week's presentation. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and let's get started with some of the more obvious ones being the first parties. Now, first-party titles are always important to presentations, and since a lot of fans love first-party presentations, there is quite a lot of possibilities for what they're about to show. Here we got some of the obvious ones, starting off with the one that I know a lot of people have been predicted, that being Metroid Prime 4 Beyond's release date. It is still coming out in the year of 2025, but with only 3 months away before the year ends, there's definitely a lot of indication that some might think that it's going to be delayed. However, the game has been rated already as rated T, and not just that, it is also still guaranteed to come out in 2025, as it seems Nintendo is still mandated by actually having this game released by this year. So if I have to guess a genuine prediction of when it's coming out, I would say around November or December as the big holiday release date. I could say Kirby Air Riders would be one, but then again, Metroid is such a huge title that it really feels more fitting as the major holiday release, especially when it's been in development since like 2017, technically 2019, because that game was fully restarted. So Prime 4 has been in development for such a long time, and I think it's time we finally get an official release date. Not to mention that the fans have been incredibly impatient about this for the last couple months. Patience is a key right there, and that's all I just want to say. It is a pretty obvious one, but now we should move on to Pokemon Legends Z2A. I mean, they've been showing off a few new things like Mega Evolutions, but hey, why not? Why not actually give us more things on Pokemon related? I don't expect anything Pokemon related at all until like maybe next year, since that will actually be the 30th anniversary of the Pokemon franchise, so maybe they'll show up a lot more here. But hey, since Pokemon is one of their flagship franchises and they have shown Pokemon a couple times in past presentations, I don't see the issue into them like, you know, revealing more information on Z2A before the game comes out within like a month. And then for speaking of release dates, especially when it comes to Prime 4, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Now, believe it or not, this was shown in the partner showcase since this game is being developed by Koei Tecmo. The weirdest thing about that presentation and when the way they revealed it is that there's still no release date for this game. It's supposed to come out this year, and given that they still haven't shown a release date yet, I'm pretty sure this would be a good time to show what Hyrule Warriors was going to be made of. If anything, I would expect this to come out within like next month or November. If I recall correctly, Age of Calamity came out in November of 2020, so that would now be a possibility, but it is weird for them to just show off something like that in a partner showcase and yet not give us a full release date at all. So maybe this time Age of Imprisonment may actually give us a full release date. And I know not a lot of people are a fan of Musou games, especially when it comes to Hyrule Warriors. I'm a fan of them myself personally, but I get it's not for everyone. But now, speaking of, there's actually a title that I think a lot of people overlook, and that is the spin-off title Splatoon Raiders. This was unexpectedly announced a few months ago, and there hasn't really been much details about Raiders other than the fact that it will take place in the world of Splatoon 3, and not just that, it will be the franchise's first spin-off. There's not much else I could say about Raiders other than that it's been a while, and I think Nintendo has kind of been slowly quiet about this, so maybe we could get some information regarding about Raiders. And then for titles such as Tomodachi Life Living the Dream and Rhythm Heaven Groove, those are titles I think will be getting a release date. I would assume at around early of 2026 because these two titles will be coming within the next few months and all. I do hope Tomodachi Life Living the Dream gets a lot of information in this one, since this is another long-awaited sequel that has been anticipated for like a decade. I love Tomodachi Life. I want this game so badly, and given that it's coming in 2026, I would assume it would be coming at around maybe the early of that year, probably at around spring or probably the summer. Who knows, really? And for Rhythm Heaven, I don't know, maybe early 2026 will make a lot of more sense. Now, the rest of the predictions from here on out are going to be a shot in the dark. The reason I'm saying that is because these are going to be predictions that I think are going to be shown off in this week's presentation, whether it's games that have not been fully announced yet or games that might be announced soon prior to leaks that had happened before this. So this just is going to be random predictions I'm going to be doing for the rest of the video. So one way to start things off is with Kirby Planet Robobot. Now, the reason I'm talking about this specifically is that there was a leak that happened last year at around December of 2024. A leaker by the name of Nate DeHates, who has been pretty credible as of lately, has stated that Kirby Planet Robobot will be coming to the Switch in the year of 2025 and would presume to be an HD remaster. Now, just take this with a grain of salt, given that he was able to predict things like the Switch 2 releasing at around 2025, especially the exact release date, and especially predicting many of the presentations that would be happening, then this could likely happen very soon. And Kirby is no stranger when it comes to remastered ports. I mean, come on, Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe is definitely one of them, but yeah, this is definitely one of the few titles that would likely be renounced due to a leak that had happened prior to this. But now we should move on to a title, that being a new Fire Emblem game. We haven't had a new Fire Emblem title since like 2023 with the release of Fire Emblem Engage, and it's kind of uncertain as to whether or not it's going to be a new game from the series or it could be a remake. A while ago, back in around 2022 or 2023, there was a rumor about a potential remake of a Fire Emblem title, that being Genealogy of the Holy War, which is the game that Sigurd was in, a character that was also prominent in Fire Emblem Engage. But this could also be a bit of like a breakout for the series, especially since Fire Emblem hasn't really been getting any new content when it comes to big console titles since Engage. So what better way to do it is with a new title or a possible remake. I do hope it could be Genealogy of the Holy War. Something about Sigurd's design is pretty interesting. Plus, I'm not sure if a lot of people ever played that game at all, so kind of like the first Fire Emblem game, this could be a good opportunity for the franchise to get something new from them. And why not? Since we are getting Metroid Prime 4 likely this year, and since about a couple years ago, we were able to get Metroid Prime remastered on the Nintendo Switch, why not give us the remastered versions of Metroid Prime 2 Echoes and Metroid Prime 3 Corruption? These are titles that would be a great way to not only market Metroid Prime 4's release, but would also be another way to pretty much bring all the trilogy all together before the release of Prime 4. I mean, it would be a great way for marketing, and I don't see why not. And now we shall move on to a prediction that is actually pretty hard for me to talk about, that being Switch 2 Edition and free updates. Now, for Switch 2 Editions, this is sort of where the predictions kind of get a little difficult for me. The thing when it comes to the Switch 2 Editions, or the upgrades to be short, is that the upgrades could be possible for any title that would be worthy of getting an upgrade. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a good example of a title that has given a really substantial upgrade, adding new content from a story, new levels, new collectibles, etc, etc. While titles such as Mario Party Jamboree are titles that doesn't really feel like an actual upgrade. It is more so just a weird addition that could have just been DLC, though then again, upgrades are essentially just glorified DLC. And for titles like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, those are titles that are $10 because it is just graphical upgrades. So really, the whole point of this is that this could be anything. Kirby and the Forgotten Land was one of the few titles that I did not expect to be getting a Switch 2 edition. I mean, Mario Party I could get, but Forgotten Land was a game that came out like a few years ago. So any possible title could be apply to any of the titles that have released beforehand. That would be getting a Switch 2 edition. Now, there is also the free updates, which were given on the date of the Switch 2 had released. And these free updates could really be anything. Personally, I would love to see the Xenoblade Trilogy and also Xenoblade X get the treatment as it is, because, you know, Xenoblade on the Switch 2 would look incredible in 4K, especially since a lot of people have been begging for the Xenoblade franchise to get, you know, graphical upgrades. And, you know, since the Switch is pretty old at that point, why not give us a good substantial graphic update by giving us free updates for the Xenoblade Trilogy as well as the other franchise. And now it's all of the first party titles I want to go over, and now we should move on to the third party titles. Now, third-party titles are always important to the game collection. Now, granted, most of these titles are going to be likely game key cards depending on the manufacturer or the developers behind it, but regardless on how you feel about it, whether physically or digitally, depending on your preference right here, third-party titles are a great way to expand your horizon. And let's talk about titles that have already been announced before we get to the other ones. Sonic Racing Crossroads is one of them because, well, obviously, the game comes out in about 2 weeks, and what better way to show more details before the game would come out is by giving us more reveals, such as the final DLC character for the season pass, as well as at least one more character reveal that will be part of the free character updates. We only know 3 so far, and there's actually rumors about a character that likely might have been revealed, that being Knights from the game, well, Knights. And not just that, funny enough is that Sega had also announced that we'll also be getting a free demo that will be happening next week as well. So hey, Sega's cross-world marketing has really been great so far, and I really cannot wait to play this game, and really more information on this game would really be lovely. And while we're at it, a release date for both Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade and Elden Ring Tarnished Edition. These were titles that were announced back earlier this year, and all we know so far is that they're coming to the Switch 2, and there has been gameplay footage of those titles shown in some things like events. It is kind of weird that they haven't really gotten a release date yet, which I guess you may have noticed a pattern by now. So better way to show it is by giving us a release date, possibly November or December of this year, since these titles will still be releasing in the year of 2025 before the year had even ended. And while we're at it, when it comes to Elden Ring as well, there is another From Software title that I think a lot of people kind of forgot at this point, that being the Duskbloods. This is a title that will only be exclusive to the Switch 2 and will be developed by From Software. And, you know, given that Elden Ring is coming out, I think it'd be cool to see more information about the Duskbloods. I wouldn't really assume that it would come out this year. I would assume it would come out in early of 2026, but that's just my prediction right there. And hey, while we're at it, with the whole From Software talk, all this From Software talk, why not? We already got Elden Ring on the Switch 2. Might as well give us Night Rain while we're at it. But now those are titles that have already been announced. We now go to titles that haven't been shown off yet. My personal prediction that I want to see the most is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This is a title, an indie title to be exact, that had released in this earlier this year, and is by far one of the most beloved titles as of right now. And many could say that this is, if not one of the best indie titles that is made by a small indie developer. And I haven't really played it myself, and I haven't planned to get this game this year for my PlayStation 5. I might not get this for the Switch 2 at all, but if they decided to announce this for the Switch 2, and if you don't have a PS5 at all, then this would be a pretty good opportunity to buy this game, because I've heard a lot of good things about Expedition 33 as of right now. And why not? Resident Evil Requiem. This is the ninth in the main overall franchise, and within the Switch 1, we have been getting Resident Evil titles on the Switch, but for like the modern titles like Resident Evil 2 Remake and 3 Remake, and especially Resident Evil 8, those are titles that only got cloud versions. So the best way to do it is if Capcom decided to make these titles native to the Switch 2. Now, they could likely make it game key cards, as I said earlier, and really, this could be a good way for not only the release of Resident Evil 9, which will be releasing next February, but we can also finally see the release of actual native ports of the modern Resident Evil titles, like the remakes of 3, 2, and 4. And then there's also a title that I am surprised wasn't shown during the partner showcase. They showed a Persona 3 Reload as well, but surprisingly, they didn't show Metaphor ReFantasio. I already had this game on my PS5, so I might not be able to own this at all. But the thing about Metaphor is that I was surprised they didn't show this during the partner showcase. And this is, if not one of my favorite titles to come from Atlas. And hey, hey, with Persona 3 Reload coming in within like the next couple months, we might as well give Metroid Fantasio fans the release of the Switch 2. And then there's also two titles that are pretty crazy that I feel like could happen at some point, that being two Xbox titles, Halo and Gears of War. The reason I mentioned this is because Microsoft as of lately has been porting their games onto other consoles that isn't just fully exclusive to their own consoles anymore. I mean, not that I don't own an Xbox or anything, but personally as of lately, the Xbox hasn't really been hidden from what I have seen. So the kind of best way to do it is to not only have games that will be exclusive to the Xbox, but also have titles that will finally be coming to things such as PlayStation and also the Nintendo Switch. There's been many rumors regarding about Halo getting ports at some point, as well as Gears of War Reloaded, which had just gotten a port onto the PlayStation as well. So Xbox could have a lot of opportunity into getting their games onto other titles and then to the Switch. And now granted, Xbox is not really known for having all these titles, but personally this would be a great way to segue having all of these titles that were exclusively onto that console into the new generation within the Switch 2 and the Nintendo Switch. Now this last prediction I wanted to personally save for last, as I feel like this is the most important one to talk about. As I said earlier in the video, this is by far the longest presentation we were given in the Nintendo Direct, roughly around an hour. Now the likely reason as to why this could be an hour is mostly because of the 40th anniversary of the Super Mario franchise, which funny enough is actually happening this week. It's happening on the 13th, but depending on where you live, it's likely already the 13th by the time the presentation rolls out on the 12th. So I think the best way Nintendo could really go about this is by giving us more content that is related to Mario's 40th anniversary. Now I only got 3 major things to talk about in this one, as I think these are the most important, but for all we know, Nintendo could really show off more than what they have. But first off, a new Mario game. This is the one I see a lot of people talk about when it comes to this type of anniversary. And you know, the last time we had the 35th anniversary, it wasn't really as extravagant as it was. So what really should they do with this new title? Should it be Mario Odyssey 2? Should it be a new Mario game that isn't Mario Odyssey 2? Or should it be like a 3D Mario game, 2D Mario? It all depends on who's really developing it, or whether or not we should really be getting a Mario game that would be akin to Mario Odyssey 2. Technically, we kind of had that with Bonanza since it was made by the same developers, but I know a lot of fans would love to see a sequel to Odyssey. Personally, I would love to just see a new general Mario game with new mechanics, a new story, new areas, etc, etc. Plus, since it has been almost 8 years since Odyssey had come out, I think the best way to do it is by finally giving us a new Mario game, a new mainline one at that. And while we're talking about mainlines, we're also going to be talking about some spin-offs, notably Mario Kart World. I don't see other spin-offs like Mario Party Jamboree or any new titles that comes from sports franchises like tennis, baseball, etc, because those titles would likely be botched in my opinion. But Mario Kart World is an important one. This game has been getting controversy ever since it came out back in June, and within the next few months there's been so much talks about this game getting DLC, possible updates, new characters, new areas, just anything that really has something related to World. And there may be some indications that we could likely get something that is related to Bonanza, like the addition of Void Kong and King K. Rool. For all we know, it's definitely uncertain, but Mario Kart World content is a definite must, especially when this game keeps getting into so many unnecessary controversies from time to time. And then there's the final one that I would love to see the most, that being at least a mention of the Super Mario movie sequel. The movie releases within the next 6 months, 6 to 7 months from now, and Nintendo and Illumination has been incredibly quiet about this film for a good while now. We know it's coming next year, we just don't know what Nintendo and Illumination has. We need to know more about the story, the new characters that will be part of the movie. There's just a lot of opportunities they could show off for the sequel, and since it's such a big hit back in 2023, the marketing for this sequel is going to be insane. And imagine the different characters and the cast that they decide to put in this one. It would just be 2023 or 2022 all over again. So that's all I want to say about this prediction for Mario's 40th anniversary. This is likely 60 minutes because of this type of celebration, and if Nintendo decide to find a way to subvert my expectations, then I would honestly be blown away with what they're about to show off. But that's all I want to say about my prediction. This is something I really wanted to do for a good while now, and it's finally refreshing to really predict things that I haven't really been able to do. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is a pretty long one to say the least, and with the Nintendo Direct coming within this week, I really hope you guys enjoyed these predictions. But let me know what you all think in the comment section below. Which games and titles would you like to see get announced or get some type of update within this presentation? Do you think it'll be a good one or a bad one? All that matters is that roughly an hour of content is going to be really insane for us Nintendo fans, or any other gamer if you really are interested in titles that will be on the Switch. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down below about this. And so with that, leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more videos, follow my Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. And remember this, once a legend, always a legend.